If you're reading this, and my mama's sitting there, looks like I only got a one-way ticket over here. I sure wish I could give you one more kiss. And war was just a game we played when we were kids. Well, I'm laying down my gun, hanging up my boots. I'm up here with God and we're both watching over you. So lay me down in that open field out on the edge of town, and know my soul, where my mom always prayed that it would go. But if you're reading this, I'm already home. If you're reading this, halfway around the world, I won't be there to see the birth of our little girl. I hope she looks like you. I hope she fights like me and stands up for the innocent and the weak. I'm laying down my gun, I'm hanging up my boots. Tell Dad I don't regret that I followed in his shoes. So lay me in that open field out on the edge of town, and know my soul is where my mom always prayed that it would go. If you're reading this, I'm already home. If you're reading this, there's gonna come a day when you move on and find someone else, and that's okay. Just remember this, I'm in a better place, where soldiers live in peace and angels sing amazing grace. So lay me down in that open field out on the edge of town, and know my soul is where my mom always prayed that it would go. If you're reading this, if you're reading this, I'm already home.
the graduating class of 2022, would like to welcome everyone to Heartview School's virtual Remembrance Day. We are honored to play our part remembering those who fought and are continuing to fight for our freedoms. Canada continues to make a change, transforming from war into peacekeeping.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
There's no one in town, I know. You gave us some place to go. I never said thank you for that. I thought I might get one more chance. What would you think of me now? So lucky, so strong, so proud. I never said thank you for that. Now I never have a chance. May angels lead you in. Here you meet my friends. On sleepless roads, the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. So what would you think of me now? So lucky, so strong, so proud. I never said thank you for that. Now I'll never have a chance. May angels lead you in. Here you meet my friends. On sleepless roads, the sleepless go. May angels lead you in.
May angels lead you in.
May angels lead you in. if you were with me tonight, I'd sing to you just one more time, a song for a heart so big God wouldn't let it live. May angels lead you in. Hear you, me, my friends, on sleepless roads, the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. May angels lead you in. Hear you, me, my friends, on sleepless roads, the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. On sleepless roads, the sleepless go. May angels lead you in.
The Things That Make a Soldier Great by Edgar A. Guest. The things that make a soldier great and send him out to die, to face the flaming cannon's mouth, no ever question why, are lilacs by the little porch, the rows of tulips red, the peonies and pansies too, the old petunia bed, the grass plot where his children play, the roses on the wall. 'Tis these that make a soldier great, he's fighting for them all. 'Tis not the pomp and pride of kings that make a soldier brave, 'tis not allegiance to the flag that over him may wave. For soldiers that never fight so well on land or on the foam, as when behind the cause they see the little place called home. In danger but that humble street whereon his children run, you make a soldier of the man who never bore a gun. What is through the battle smoke the valiant soldier sees, the little garden far away, the budding apple trees, the little patch of ground back there, the children at their play, perhaps a tiny mound behind the simple church of gray. The golden thread of courage isn't linked to the castle dome, but to the spot where'er it be, the humble spot called home. And now the lilacs bud again, and all is lovely there, and homesick soldiers far away know spring is in the air. The tulips come to bloom again, the grass once more is green, and every man can see the spot where all his joys have been. He sees his children smile at him, he hears the bugle call, and only death can stop him now, he's fighting for them all.
If I had to choose one word to describe World War I, it would be cataclysmic.
A single word to describe World War I would be catastrophic.
Transformational, because nothing was the same once the war was over.
I think the one word that helps to describe World War I is destructive.
I would choose the word mistake.
Stupid. That's how I would encapsulate the First World War. World War I did not have to happen. There was no inherent reason. It literally was dumb.
A person during World War I thought they were in a new age, a fascinating modern world, the world that produced the Titanic, aviation, and incredible advances in medicine. It seemed like everything was within grasp right before World War I. And all of these would be smashed on the battlefields of Europe.
From the very beginning of the road to war, to everything that comes out of the war and the peace plans, is not just one mistake, but a series of mistakes. People had the option to choose peace, and time and again seemed to make the wrong decisions.
It was lack of communication. It was intellectual rigidity. It was a simple falling of dominoes that never needed to fall. And so the children of the Renaissance and the Age of Reason and the Enlightenment ended up massacring themselves in the mud and blood of the trenches.
Not just destructive in terms of what happens to men's bodies on the battlefield, destructive in terms of global politics.
The Russian Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the grievous weakening of the British and French empires. The world that existed in 1918 was remarkably different from the one that existed in 1914.
The whole globe was influenced by this war, and the transformational changes cover a wide range from technology and weapons. You see the first tanks, you see the maturation of artillery guns, machine guns, trench warfare. World War I begins the modern era.
Grim future. The sound rings around, boom, within the helpless soldiers, impending doom. A perfect balance of bodies, both alive and dead. Scavenging crows are soon to be fed. Guns firing and guns blazing. Everyone's minds are swiftly racing. Every individual on the field holds onto their life. Over needless fighting causes massive strife. Through lost lives, families are left behind, and those who survive, them in trauma will bind. Where guilt terrible will follow, however, too big and heavy to swallow. For blood of innocent lives were shed, young people with a future ahead of them, but replaced that is a future of dread, and led their lives to death instead.
Go.
"2021 marks the 73rd anniversary of United Nations peacekeeping, which was founded shortly after the end of World War II. Millions of Canadians served in World War I and II, and more than 100,000 died. Their sacrifices brought us the peace that Canada peacekeepers fight to protect today. Since 1948, 125,000 Canadians have served in peacekeeping missions around the world, and 130 have died.
My beloved Betty, it has been a little over 3 months since I left for the war. I decided I was going to write before Christmas. It was high time that I got to it. My appearance is so different from before. I worry I will be unrecognizable in your eyes. You and the baby are always on my mind. How are you doing? How is taking care of Charles all alone? Little Charles, has he started crawling? I miss you all dearly. There is never a day that goes by where I do not imagine us around the dinner table, all together again. I also miss your meals. The meals here cannot compare to yours at home, especially your chicken noodle soup. I guess I better end this for now. I don't have much time.
but I wanted to check in on both of you. Stay safe and tell Charles I love him dearly. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, my loves.
January 29th, 1940. Dear John, Happy New Year's, my love. Charles and I have been well. It feels so different and empty without you. It's been tough taking care of Charles alone. I got used to your help whenever it was needed. Charles started crawling just last month. He had the brightest smile on his face. It is too unfortunate that you were not here to experience such a joyous moment. Moving on. Charles has finally started eating his mushy peas, although it took some time and tremendous effort. His contagious laugh fills the walls of our home. Every passing night we pray for you to come home safe and healthy. I wish you good health and a safe journey. John, please take care of yourself and come home to us soon.
Dear Betty, I apologize for the lack of letters. These past couple of months, times have been tough with the rattle of explosions as we try to sleep. We are getting into trench warfare. At night we go out and work in no man's land, building barriers and stringing wire. Days are tougher and I fear my future. I keep losing my mates and there's nothing I can do about it. I feel so helpless and empty inside. Betty, darling, yesterday something tragic happened. I lost a close friend. It happened so quickly. Right in front of my eyes. I don't know what to do. I stood frozen, sitting across his lifeless body. My love, I see no sign of the war ending anytime soon. I miss you. How is our boy? I hope he is well. Tell him I miss him. I wonder to myself, how will I be able to get home from being here so long? The pain I have just thinking about it cripples me. Betty, darling, my dear, I have bad news, but do not fret. I was working the late shift before daylight. We had just returned to the trench, half an hour before sunrise, when the sound of a German machine gun blasted in the air. Bullets whizzed past my head and body. It struck my helmet, knocking me unconscious. The next thing I knew, a bullet had hit me in the chest, staining my uniform a crimson red. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, only to see my surroundings had changed into a hospital. My injuries were worse than I thought. A massive slash on my right leg marks the spot of a bullet that nearly missed me. The wounds may be infected, and the excruciating pain hurts me greatly. It is nearly impossible to get up and do anything for myself. I do not want to die. I want to be there for you and little Charles. I wish to be with you. I need you in my arms again, Betty, darling. I miss your smile. I miss your laugh. Most of all, I miss you. I love you, Betty Arthur Jenkins.
Dear John, I constantly think about you and worry for your health. Hearing about your news made my heart drop in fear of losing you. I wake up in the morning to an empty bed, unsure of what to do with my day. Things at home had been tough. I cannot distract myself enough from these thoughts. Only the worst continue to haunt my mind. Charles' third birthday is coming up. His only wish is for you to come home safe. Just yesterday, I watched him dance to our favorite song. He made me remember our first dance together, how you didn't know how to move your feet and kept stepping on mine. I remember how much we laughed that night. I love you, John. Oh, more than anything in the world. Recover soon.
Betty is worried sick about John. She hears a knock on the door. Behind the door stands John. He does not have the same energy as he did before he left. John had just returned from the war, watching his friends and comrades die before his eyes. Betty understands that he will not be the same as he was before. After all, John has seen and experienced death's looming presence.
In Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
A Cursed Stage by Andrew Carrion. War, an event so tragic, of innocent lives lost, death and suffering, a past so traumatic, so many minds, their consciousness and exhaust. Every soldier's mind was filled with static, a noise made from machines and their dark magic. Machine guns. The choir of the smoky battlefield, the owners sing them proudly, a cacophony sound from a field. A vibrato of death echoes loudly, each note a fate sealed. A volley of bullets hit their targets devoutly, bodies fall loudly on the hour. Bombs. The church bells of destruction, it falls, an explosion rattles. An echoing concussion of cursed percussion, a momentary rattle in our battles. A cloud of dust hides the sun, from the crater smoke travels. Mustard gas. A creeping thief in the plains, our breath stolen by the umber clouds. Our consciousness wanes in our burning veins, in our minds a deadly haze enshrouds. The fallen, in their own lungs, they drown, their bodies, pale and racked with pains, grow cold and stiff, fall down all around. The living in their mass can only stare at the remains, to friends gone, fated to lay on the ground. War. In death's frigid hands we dance, on livid feet we prance, guns, gas, and bombs are the instruments, the frantic music of dissonance. War is the stage for our dooms. Moving to the tunes, our limbs fall apart, and death consumes. Only when we all die does the stage depart. Death waits another day for the next platoons, for the future when the curtains will part.
The end of the Second World War had finally come. Canadian veterans were beginning to re-enter their previous civilian lives after serving overseas for years on end. Over 100,000 Canadian soldiers had lost their lives and would not be returning home to see their loved ones. For many, the sounds of gunfire still rang through their heads, loud and persistent, snuffing out any visions of the peace they had imagined. Getting to see loved ones was a perfect distraction from the wars that continued in their minds, as was starting families and indulging in comforts that were unaffordable before the war. Canada's political climate was unstable for many years following the end of World War II, as the governments tried to decide what Canada's involvement would be in the future world conflicts. As Britain's power declined, in turn, the United States emerged as the dominant economic and military power worldwide. Consequently, Canadians' relations with Britain decreased, while relations with the United States grew closer. To avoid being controlled by the United States, Canada made conscious decisions to be involved in multilateral groups where influence from the United States would be diffused. These multilateral groups are where the ideologies of peacekeeping were born. I am brave and courageous. I wonder how many lives I will save today. I hear the sounds of silence as I walk past the abandoned homes. I see countless civilians taking their last breath, reaching out for my help. I want to live in a world of freedom and opportunity. I am brave and courageous. I pretend to be hopeful that this will soon be the past. I feel those who were lost pushing me forwards. I touch the lives of all those I have saved. I worry that my help will be denied. I cry that I will become the enemy under attack. I am brave and courageous. I understand that I can't make anything change on my own. I say nothing, for the lump in my throat is overpowering. I dream that I will see my family once again. I try to reach for all the innocent hands that reach for mine. I hope that I'll see through to the end of this. I am brave and courageous. The time of Lester B. Pearson is understandably known as the Golden Era of peacekeeping. Lester B. Pearson, former Canadian Prime Minister, is well known as being the father of modern-day peacekeeping in the United Nations. Pearson did not want to see Canada, or the world, at war again and made many large steps towards making this a reality, beginning with his joining the Canadian Department of External Affairs. Work done by Pearson includes his contributions to the United Nations and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also known as NATO. By 1948, Lester B. Pearson was Minister of External Affairs, which led to his greatest achievement in 1956, when he proposed that a UN peacekeeping force could be used to maneuver the British and French out of Egypt during the Suez Crisis. This plan of his was implemented and resulted in him receiving a Nobel Peace Prize in 1957. The Charter of the United Nations was drawn up and signed by 50 nations on June 26, 1945, in San Francisco at the conclusion of the United Nations Conference on International Organization. This charter is the founding document of the United Nations and officially came into force on October 24, 1945. Being a founding member of the United Nations, Canada has committed to following the guidance provided in the United Nations Charter. As a member and active participant, Canada's involvement in the United Nations includes promoting and maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations, and achieving international cooperation in solving international problems. Along with the United Nations, Canada is also a part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and was actually one of the 12 founding nations who signed the establishing treaty on April 4, 1949, in Washington. As a founding member of NATO, Canada, for the first time in its history, assumed serious peacetime military commitments, maintained an infantry brigade and air squadrons, and contributed ships to NATO's naval forces. NATO has remained a major contributor to international peace and security and is the cornerstone of Canadian security and defense policy. Canada has been involved in every peacekeeping mission they've done since the conception of NATO more than 7 decades ago. For all this time, we have been a vital part of the organization, being the most agile and deployable forces in all the countries involved. Now in the modern world, Canada still holds a role in peacekeeping. Our methods have grown and changed as we went through all our peacekeeping missions, but at its heart, we still hold the same feelings. Canada has had some learning curves and struggles in the transition to peacekeeping from fighting, yet it never stopped us. Just because we were at peace does not mean the world is at peace, so we headed out to fix that problem. With our allies, we have helped nations fight insurrectionism and groups attempting to bring down peace from the world. Now, all we have left is to keep going, our blue berets standing out from the crowd of green uniforms until the world is at peace.
Over 100,000 Canadians sacrificed their lives in World War I and World War II to give Canadians the freedom we have today. In the last 60 years, Canadian peacekeepers and armed forces have helped maintain that peace and help bring peace to other countries in need. Although the Canadian Army still assists when they are needed, our government has kept their focus on peacekeeping and peacemaking missions. When you hear them, peacekeeping and peacemaking sound like the same thing, but they are actually two very different things. Peacekeeping is a military unit that stands between two opposing sides to keep peace, while peacemaking is an active military operation to achieve peace. Oftentimes, there is no peace to keep, so peacemaking has become more of a priority. Canada switched over to modern peacekeeping after Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson decided to turn Canada's focus to peacekeeping after World War II. Since the beginning of our start as a peacekeeping country with the United Nations in 1945, Canada has served in 35 UN and 20 NATO missions and has had over 125,000 Canadians serve in over 35 countries. In fact, between 1948 and 1988, Canada sent more than 80,000 peacekeepers for the UN. This made up for 10% of personnel in UN peacekeeping at the time. From 2001 and 2014, Canada turned its attention to the Afghanistan war, but still continued to send peacekeepers, troops, and police officers to countries such as Ethiopia, Eritrea, Liberia, Mali, and Sudan. Peacekeeping missions are normally carried out in poor developing countries with nearly absent state capacity and large informal markets. This situation makes them very susceptible to external shocks. A state of security is both a prerequisite for a functioning formal economy and an incentive for investment, which are both things that all nations aim to achieve. While originally focused on peacekeeping with the UN, Canada has now begun to work primarily with NATO on peacemaking missions. Canadian troops are currently serving in Kosovo as part of the 3,500 troops that were provided by NATO.
That people died in the war, so you have to do stuff to make them be happier and do stuff that your parents say.
Like a red team and blue team fight each other, and the teams, and when the red team loses.
Peace means to me is freedom in the world.
Peace means being kind and loved. When I'm happy, I feel peace.
Peace means sharing kindness. Peace means stopping the war.
Peace means that no harm is going to be done to anyone, where nobody is harming each other and it's just a free world.
Peace is a state of freedom without any disturbance.
For me, peace means that you are free to be who you are and to live according to your beliefs without being in fear.
Peacekeeping means sharing peace in the world. Peacekeeping means spread the peace.
That no one is arguing or fighting with each other. That there's this guardian trying to protect you, and that there's just no war in between others.
When I hear peacekeeping, I think that's like enforcement to keep peace between countries or whatever.
I think of bravery, and I think of sacrifice, and I think of compassion for the people in the countries that the peacekeepers are going.
It's where you keep peace and be kind and be nice to people.
I am a peacekeeper in a country that I do not know. I come from a country where war is a foreign concept, where security is taken for granted, and where we all live in blissful ignorance. These people demand peace, but they have not seen what I have. I have searched for peace, but there is none to be found. This is modern war. It's a beautiful day, the sun shines, and children play. Laughter rings through the air, joyous and unbothered. In an instant, all that was is no longer. One decision, one moment, one press of a button, and an explosion forces all the life out of a place that was once filled with love. Mothers and fathers and children, here 1 minute and gone the next. You won't hear about it on the news. You will never know their names. This is modern war. This is not a desolate battlefield, not what you've seen in movies. This is a village. This was a home. Life is here, but death hangs in the air. A shadow, ever present, waiting for the right moment. It is unafraid and unaffected by the lives that it touches. This is modern war. In an effort to find peace amidst chaos, desperation is all we know. We are not saviors, we are not heroes, we are human. We are here to protect, but many still die. We are drowning in a life that we chose, suffocated by the failures we face each day. You save a life and lose 10 more. This is modern war. We beg for peace, but we have no power to ask for it. We say we need more resources, more soldiers, but we are ignored. We fight for a cause that is supported but neglected. We are respected, and yet we are forgotten. This is modern war. I wear a sky blue hat, the symbol of hope, a sign of peace. Nations united under an idealistic vision. We fight and sacrifice our lives for a better world. This is modern peace.
Dear Mom, good news. Today I finally received the news that I'm getting deployed. You know how badly I want to go on a UN mission? I didn't even care which one they put me on, as long as I could go somewhere. After I finished my training, they put me on a standby list for short notice overseas deployment, and now a few months later, I finally got chosen. They told me this morning that I'm going to Cyprus, and I'll be leaving in a few days. I'll know more after the meeting that will tell us what the mission is about. It's funny, Mom, I've never even heard of this place before training, and now I'm going to be living there for the next 6 months. Just in case you want to show Dad where it is on the map, Cyprus is a small island in the Mediterranean Sea near Greece and Turkey. I don't know too much about what's going on there yet, but Canada has had men stationed there for about 3 years now, so I won't be going in blind. I better get going now. I've got lots to get ready. I'll try to write again as soon as I can. Make sure you say hi to Dad for me. Love, Merle. March 16th, 1967. Dear Mom, that meeting I spoke of felt like an eternity. It had to have lasted at least an hour, and it had started early in the morning, and I wasn't the only one who thought the meeting had been boring. Judging by the looks of the faces around me as we're told the details of our mission, from what I can remember, many seem to be dozing off, likely tired from having woken up so early, but it's not like we haven't woken up this early before. During the meeting, we are informed that Turks had invaded Cyprus after Greek Cypriots, people of Cyprus, had overthrown the government. The Turks and the Greek Cypriots had been positioned on two sides of Cyprus, apparently. Turks in the north and Greek Cypriots in the south, apparently. It had been our job to patrol a 180-kilometer border between these two forces to prevent any fighting and violence as what had been supposedly happening. Most of the time, though, I was in my own thoughts about many things. Cyprus, for one, what would it be like? Would it be as beautiful as the land is? Or would there be dark things behind the scenes? I hope that everything we discussed in the meeting is all there is to it, since I'm not too sure if we want it to get any worse than this. I also thought, what would it be like at home while I'm gone? Mom, can you manage? I know I'll be gone for a while, so you have to find someone who can take care of you. Anyways, I'm writing this before another meeting, so I must be going. All be well with you. Love, Merle. April 2nd, 1967. Dear Mom, Cyprus was bigger than I originally thought, but not huge. What is huge, though, is having to patrol a 180-kilometer line between the Turks and the Greek Cypriots. Disputations often occurred, often resulting in fighting of some sort. A lot of the time it had just been brawling, but sometimes weapons were used and blood was drawn. We tried our best to stop this fighting and help the people, but the sides butt heads too much. They're firm and stubborn on what each believes in and won't give in to the opposing side. However, I wish they did. Patrolling of this border was soon split up into sections very soon after our first patrolling, due to it being too long for every person stationed to walk the entire length. It can get scary though. I mean, what was I expecting? This border can sometimes get to a couple meters wide, meaning the Turks and the Greek Cypriots were only that far apart away from each other in some parts. Fighting would spill out through or over the border, and gunfights would occasionally occur. It was our job to stop this, but some of my fellow peacekeepers didn't make it out so well. 1 Canadian peacekeeper had died, and 5 were injured. I even knew 3 of the people injured. However, I never met the poor soul who lost his life. I've got to go now since it'll be my shift to patrol a section of the border. Love, Merle. July 27th, 1967. Dear Mom, for the past few months we've been staying in the capital city, Nicosia, as this is where a large amount of the communal violence takes place. It is all living here. It is a beautiful city, but split in two. On one side you have the Turkish Cypriots and the other Greek Cypriots. These two sides often flood the streets with violence and death. There's only so much we can do to stop it. It's hard to watch such horrible things happen, especially when so many innocent people are involved. I've come to know a few of those that live near our base quite well, as I see them often while I'm on patrol. There's a woman named Christina and her daughter, Maria. They live near the makeshift wall that has been built to separate the Turkish and Greek sides of Cyprus. Maria is young, only 5 years old, and she has seen so much already, too much for a child. Last week, fighting broke out in the streets. It was the largest amount of communal violence I had seen since I arrived here. It was horrific. We tried to stop as much of it as we could, but many innocents got caught in the crossfire. I was heading out into the fight to try and stop what I was seeing
when out of the corner of my eye I saw young Maria and her mother huddled behind the barricade. They had been returning home from the market when the fight broke out. I had to run over to them quickly, gun in hand, which I'm sure frightened Maria. Thankfully, she recognized me from her many talks and jumped into my arms. You cannot believe how heartbreaking it is to see these things, Mom. I'm happy to be here helping, but it's not easy work. Thankfully, I was able to get Maria and her mother to safety, away from the fighting that plagues these streets. I then had to return to the fighting, making sure no more civilians were left in the streets. Next morning, as I went through my regular patrol through the streets, Christina and Maria came up to me with fresh baked pastries in hand. As a thank you, I told them that wasn't necessary, but they insisted, so I conceded but made Maria share one with me. She giggled as we ate them, and it was nice to hear a sound of laughter and happiness after so much violence. Though it is hard to be here, trying to maintain peace when there's none to be found, it's for people like Christina and Maria that I do this for. I'm so glad I am able to have this impact on people, but boy do I miss home. I miss the peace that Canada is able to offer. I can't wait to see you and Dad in a few short months. All my love, Merle.
August 12th, 1967. Dear Corporal Drinkwalter, in the hopes that this gets to you in Canada, I'm writing this brief letter to say how grateful Maria and I are to you, the other officers and men, for our safe evacuation from the streets of Nicosia on July 21st. I recognize that the British forces played a major role in organizing and carrying out our passage to safety, but if it hadn't been for the Canadian contingent, we would never have gotten the ceasefire in Nicosia. God bless and take care of you all. Yours sincerely, Christina and Maria.
Goodbye, turned around, and you were gone, gone, gone. Faded into the setting sun. Slipped away, but I won't cry, 'cause I know I'll never be lonely. For you are the stars to me. You are the light. I can hear those echoes in the wind at night, calling me back in time, back to you, in a place far away where the water meets the sky. The thought of it makes me smile. You are my
Thank you for joining us today to celebrate Canada's legacy of fighting for peace in past wars and present missions. Today, we remember those who have fought and died creating and maintaining the peace of today, lest we forget.
can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, our hearts are never broken, and time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. Wait for me to come home. Loving can heal. Loving can mend your soul. And it's the only thing that I know. I swear it will get easier. Remember that with every piece of you. And it's the only thing we take with us when we die. Keep this love in its photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, our hearts were never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. And if you hurt me, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed inside these pages. You just hold me. I won't ever let you go. Wait for me to come home. 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 Oh, you can fit me inside the necklace you got when you were 16, next to your heartbeat where I should be. Keep it deep within your soul. And if you hurt me, well, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed inside these pages. You just hold me. I won't ever let you go. When I'm away, I will remember how you kissed me under the lamppost back on 6th Street, hearing you whisper through the phone. Wait for me to come home.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them.